In Kenya politics at the moment, nobody is paying attention to Raila Odinga. After all, he cannot vie in the next elections. Raila Odinga is no longer a factor in Kenyan politics. That is the general view. But on my show today, I'm going to prove to you that that is not the case. Far from it. And not only that, I'm going to prove to you that in fact, Raila Odinga is most effective, most dangerous as a politician when everybody has written him off. History tells us that Raila Odinga does not perform well when he's a front runner, when things are going well. He plays his most effective, dangerous cards when everything is stacked up against him, when people have already started writing his political obituary. That is when this striker, if it was a soccer game, called Raila Odinga, is most dangerous. Karibu sana to another very unique Kumekucha video. Now please allow me a quick reminder. We have a most fascinating documentary or collection of videos titled Ruto Dark Secrets, which goes very well with this current video because it reveals quite a number of highly sensitive facts behind this presidency that could easily enable you to predict what is going to happen in the near future. Oh yes, near future. Yeah. When you put that together with what is unfolding in the country, which I will clearly digest and break down in this video, you will have a very clear picture of where we are as a country and indeed where we're going. I have an amazing special offer. I believe you can see details on your screens right now, where you can be able to get this very unique sensitive content for only $6.99 or Kenya shillings 699. And what is more, and that will win you 2 months free membership to my weekly intelligence briefings. Oh yes, you heard me right. 2 months membership free. And what that means, you'll also get all the back editions of my WIBs from number 1 up to the current one, number 91. Lots of very sensitive information that will bring much more clarity of what Kenya politics is all about. Please don't forget to like this video if you're already enjoying the show, and if you're already anticipating what you usually get, lots of very super fascinating content. Yeah, that like will really help me. Now you know I don't like keeping people in suspense. I don't. And so, twende kazi. Kenya politics, if it was an exam, is a very easy exam to fail completely. Yani, to get 0 out of 100 marks. Oh yes. And I say that with a lot of humility. Because, hii mtihani si hata mimi nimeanguka mara nyingi sana. Yeah, it is an exam that I too have failed. Yeah, that's not a secret. Bottom line, what I am saying is that one needs to be very careful. Kuanguka ni rahisi. Now the general story going around is that this man called Raila Amolo Odinga kwisha maneno. Yeah, that's the story going around. In fact, this fallout in Azimio between the ODM party and the Jubilee party, yeah, people are starting to float around the idea ODM don't care, yeah, because Raila will not vie for the presidency again. What does that tell you? They are saying Raila Odinga finished in politics. But is that true? In fact, these analysts are giving us evidence. You see now Winnie Odinga is going for an Iala post. She wants to be nominated to the East African Assembly. And therefore Raila Odinga is handing over the family mantle, family political mantle, to his daughter, Winnie Odinga. This is proof. That's what they're saying. And so, those in ODM should kaa chonjo, because the mantle also has to be handed over to somebody else within the ODM party. I believe you have seen so many commentaries and analysis discussing who is going to take over from Raila Odinga within the ODM party. That's a hot topic. And this is the way many are reading Kenyan politics. However, I am reading it very differently. Raila Odinga, not yet. Not yet gone. Make no mistake about that. Those who have been following the career of this legendary politician in Kenya will know that Raila operates best when people have written him off. When people start saying Raila kwisha maneno, that is the moment. Yeah, that is not very far from that moment where this man will make a comeback. That will be a paradigm shift. A comeback that will change everything. And I can give you many, many examples from the past. But since most of us don't like history, since most of us hate history, I will refrain myself and give you only one or two examples. In early 2000, there was a very shocking merger between Raila Odinga's then NDP party and Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi's KANU to form what we were told was the new KANU. Indeed, political analysts mocked Raila Odinga and NDP by emphasizing the fact that this was not a merger. Raila's party had just been swallowed by KANU, the mighty KANU. Yani his party together with Raila Odinga swallowed by KANU. Raila Odinga kwisha maneno. And Raila Odinga even became Secretary General of KANU. Something that just blew the minds of Kenyans at the time. Yani this party which has tested Raila like this, put him in detention so many times, frustrated him. Ati now Raila is the Secretary General of the same political party. Aye! Esh! You ulisikia wapi? But it was the reality. And this particular example I've chosen to give for a very good reason. Because you see, at the time, KANU looked invincible, impossible to bring down. Yeah? State machinery, etc., etc. How can you bring KANU down? That's a dream. Hiyo ni ndoto ya mchana. Now, of course, this was a time of succession politics. Moi was serving his very last term, which was due to end in December 2002, when elections were due to be held and a new president elected into office. People were sure Moi is going. And so there were so many people with ambitions for the presidency. So many people who had been plotting and waiting on the wings within KANU to take over from Moi, using the same powerful state machinery. But what some of them did not realize is that within KANU things had changed. That man who Kenyans said was finished politically, Raila Odinga, was now within KANU. That changed everything. Very few people saw it like that. People focused on Raila kwisha maneno. And then a major political event unfolded, which was dubbed very aptly Kasarani Keserani. Yeah, that means chaos in Kasarani. This was where the elections were due to be held. Yeah, for the new chairman of KANU, the person to take over from Moi, who would obviously be the presidential candidate in the upcoming 2002 general elections. And if truth be told, at that time the opposition looked very weak. They were not even united. A man called Kenneth Matiba, who had come in second in 1992, had boycotted the 1997 presidential elections. He had told Kenyans it is a waste of time. Yeah, because it's always fixed. So you can win the elections and never get into State House. Sounds familiar? Of course it does. And so if we can backtrack a little, in 1997, in the run-up to that presidential election, when there was so much excitement, Mwai Kibaki and others vying for the presidency, people were looking for Matiba, the man who had come in second in 1992. And journalists had to trace him in Mombasa, having a brief holiday. And Matiba just repeated what he had always told them. Waste of time. Kenyans are wasting their times going to cast their vote. I will not waste my time. I'm not vying for the presidency. I'm having a brief holiday in Mombasa. And journalists just looked at Matiba and they shook their heads. What is wrong with this man? But of course Matiba's words were very prophetic, because in 1997 Moi won again, against the opposition. So in 2002, during Kasarani Keserani, the opposition was very weak. No Matiba there. There was Kibaki there, who at the time looked like a very weak candidate. And they had some sort of loose coalition with a man called Michael Kijana Wamalwa and Charity Ngilu. Surely, where could those people take the country? Whoever was going to win the election within KANU for chairman would definitely be the next president of Kenya. People ignored the opposition. And of course people ignored Raila Odinga. And a man called George Saitoti was busy the whole night working delegates. The man was so sure there was going to be an election, he'd win by a landslide. He was going to be the next chairman of KANU. And indeed many analysts predicted precisely that. And then drama. Moi organized these things very secretly. Even Saitoti didn't know what was happening. And when they got to Kasarani Keserani, Saitoti could not believe what was happening. Moi had already made up his mind that the next chairman of KANU was going to be Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. The same individual who was going to fly the KANU flag in the 2002 general elections. And with the system behind him and the powerful KANU party, he was definitely going to win. Saitoti lost it. And he started screaming and mumbling all over the place. And in a very extraordinary high-wire drama scene, President Moi stood up from his seat. Even as the meeting was going on, he stood up and screamed, very unlike Moi in public, "Professor Kimya! Professor, shut up." Saitoti came back to his senses. All that money he had spent working delegates, all that hard work overnight to make sure he wins an election, which in the end did not take place, was too much. But Saitoti came back to his senses. All that for nothing, for an election that never took place. And Saitoti, kama mbwa ambaye ameweka mkia katikati ya miguu, sat down quietly. Now it is said that Raila had also made his own plans for those elections. Some people even say that for NDP to be swallowed by KANU, Raila had been given promises by Moi. Hii kiti mimi nitawachia wewe, something like that. We don't have any proof to say anything about that with certainty. But what happened after that is that Raila Odinga resigned from government. Resigned from his post as Secretary General of the mighty KANU. And left the party went back to the opposition. And this was the 11th hour. Elections were just around the corner. This was in the year 2002. To cut a very long story short, Raila's leaving Kanu at that time triggered massive exodus away from Kanu by very influential politicians. And all of them ended up in a party called LDP. And Raila organized very quickly, a very strong LDP outfit. Even as Mighty Kanu continued with the arrangements with the presidential candidate Uhuru Kenyatta, for an election they knew there was no way they were going to lose. Even Moi knew they were going to win. And in December 2002, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta would become the third president of Kenya. But of course, the man who was finished politically, the Kwisha Maneno guy, Raila Odinga, had plans of his own in the opposition. And to cut another very long story short, this culminated in the famous meeting at Uhuru Park, where Raila Odinga stood up and annoyed very many people by single-handedly choosing for himself the opposition presidential candidate. Of course, those very famous words from Raila were Kibaki Tosha. And the crowd in Uhuru Park cheered. And all the other pretenders to the throne who had their own plans and ambitions went into mourning. The Kinanyachais, Kalonzo Musyokas, etc., who wanted the presidency, but were now seeing it being taken away from them live, mchana. And very suddenly, just like that, the previously weak, disjointed opposition became a juggernaut in politics. But not many people noticed. Indeed, as the campaign started, and you know Raila is a guru in campaigns, people were saying, this guy who's finished politically is just wasting his time. The system is not on his side. It doesn't matter. The next president is Uhuru Kenyatta. So let's make our plans. Let's draw close to him. Ndo tukule. Kwa sababu this guy, huyu jamaa, definitely the third president of Kenya. You know how that story ended. It ended with Mwai Kibaki elected as the third president of Kenya. And the whole mastermind behind this was that politician people had written off. It was that man who was finished in politics at the time, allegedly, called Raila Odinga. Fast forward to the present. The government has already been formed. It's a UDA government. We have a president, confirmed by the Supreme Court. President Ruto has all the instruments of power. He controls the military, the police, all security organs, etc., etc. President Ruto is in State House. Raila Odinga, Kwisha Maneno. That's what people are saying. And of course, many were not there in 2002. And even those who are there do not really understand what happened behind the scenes. So that things changed and the system was defeated. And Kanu was removed from power for the first time since independence. People don't know what happened. People don't have the details. But those of us who have followed Raila for a long time know a few things I will now state. Fact number one, Raila Odinga has a plan. Not maybe, not perhaps. Raila Odinga definitely has a plan and is working that plan gradually, step by step, meticulously. Even as us analysts are very busy writing Raila Odinga's political obituary. Some of us, even bloggers who are known to lean towards Azimio, are producing videos telling us about the mistakes Raila Odinga is making, the mistakes ODM are making. Oh, they should do it like this, they should do it like that. But that doesn't change fact number one. Raila Odinga has a plan. And this plan has nothing to do with his succession. We've even seen media reports about Kalonzo Musyoka positioning himself to take over from Raila, which doesn't make sense to me at all. How? Kalonzo Musyoka is not in ODM. If somebody was to believe this analysis, then what is going to happen, or what should happen, is that Raila Odinga should open his briefcase, remove a document that hands over all his fanatical supporters, all his votes, to Kalonzo Musyoka. Oh yes, that's what you're telling me when you give me such I won't say. Okay? Fact number 2. The UDA government is in 6s and 7s. Now, I know that's an expression which many of us may not be familiar with. So let me break it down. UDA and President William Samoei Ruto were sure that taking over the leadership of Kenya was going to be very easy. Easy peasy. Easy come and easy. And all they needed to do was kujipanga, tujipange, tumejipanga. No problem. Piece of cake. Uhuru and Raila had no idea what they were doing. Uhuru and Raila messed the country, etc., etc. The reality has told them different, because the truth is, this government is limping from crisis to crisis. Limping badly. From pilot strike, to hunger in the country, to DCI issues, Sijui Kenoti wants to be taken where, blaming the previous administration for everything that is going wrong. Oh, we are not responsible for the hunger in the country. We are not responsible for this situation at all. There's hunger in Kenya. It's not our fault. And of course, as they're saying this, they are forgetting this is politics. Some things don't matter. For instance, it does not matter whose fault it is. What matters is that hungry Kenyans need a solution like yesterday or the day before yesterday. Yeah, they're not interested who caused it. They're not interested in anything else except a solution. The long and short of it all is that the UDA government wanaendelea kujipanga, moving from this initiative they want to that initiative, while ignoring the most terribly important things in the country. Things which if you don't fix, and fix quickly, nothing else matters. Yeah, that's the situation today. That's the reality on the ground. So the UDA government is in 6s and 7s. It is like the defense of a soccer team, which is under constant attack. Yeah, the goalkeeper saves the ball, goal kick, the other side are back quickly attacking. Another dangerous situation. Somebody's tackled at the last minute, they're going to shoot in a goal. And the defense lines up for the corner kick, which they somehow manage to deal with. Yeah, and the ball is kicked to the opposing team, only for it to come right back the next minute. Another attack, this time on the left wing. Sooner or later, you know the inevitable will happen. That defense will fail sooner or later. And this other team which is being persistent will score. Now in our case, I'm not talking about the opposition. I'm not even talking about Raila Odinga. The opposing side for the UDA government are the numerous, very serious crises we have in the country, which are bombarding the government from all sides. Security, crime rate going over the roof, etc., etc. Too many problems. And don't forget for a minute that this is politics. And politics must always pay very close attention to something else called human nature. How do humans react to a situation where people are desperate and hungry? What usually happens? What happened in Sudan? When there's a very powerful government in place, state machinery, in fact a military government, a very strong dictator who had lasted for decades. What happened there? Human nature kicked in. Yeah, and this human nature was so strong They didn't care about bullets from soldiers. In no time at all, a man called President Bashir was gone, just like that. Fact number 3, there are things happening in the strongholds of the UDA government that are not at all good for this government. And of course, I'm talking about the massive Rift Valley and the controversial Mount Kenya region. Both these areas of Kenya have not remained unaffected by the looming food shortage and high prices of food. Ordinarily, when a new government comes into power, the first thing you do is to consolidate your support, starting with your strongholds. Now, at the moment, this cannot happen because of the prevailing situation on the ground. You see, things were very okay when you could blame everything on President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. But those two individuals are gone from the stage. So it is human nature that people need somebody new, a brand new person, to hit out at, to fire barbs at, to complain to, for the situation they're facing. The very serious situation many Kenyans in these regions are facing, just like elsewhere in the country. Now that puts this government in a very complicated position. Even if Raila was president and Azimio were in power, they would have a very difficult time. But it is not Raila who is president. It is Ruto who is president. And to make matters worse, President Ruto, in consolidating his presidency, has to face millions of Kenyans who are hurting, who are mourning since the events of the last presidential election. How on earth is the president going to deal with this problem? Does it even have a solution? You know, I've had supporters, diehard supporters of Raila Odinga, talking very sincerely and saying they are happy it is not Raila who is president. Because the problems they are seeing in the country, those problems could easily have overwhelmed even experienced Raila. He would be having a headache. And so they're very happy he is not president. In fact, they're saying, Raila, you don't need to do anything. Just find somewhere to sit, get some popcorn, and enjoy the show. Watch things unfold. You don't need to do anything. That's what they're saying. And actually, I tend to agree with them. The long and short of what I'm saying here is that no matter what you're seeing in the country at the moment, whatever your analysis is telling you at the moment, Raila Odinga as a politician is not finished. In fact, he has not even started. And anybody who wants to write off Raila Odinga, I'm sorry to say, hiyo ni ndoto ya mchana. But let's wait and see. Shall we? Until next time, this is Chris. Kumekucha.